Squadrons! Into line! Left and right! Turn! Squadrons! Left and right! Press! Squadrons! Eyes! Front! Squadrons! Stand at ease!
His Majesty the King's Representative, Deputy Lord Lieutenant of North Yorkshire, Captain Stephen Upright, RM, Mayor of Harrogate, Chris Aldrin, distinguished military guests, esteemed representatives and members of the public. Thank you. On behalf of ANZAC Remembrance and our most revered hosts, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission, I welcome you all to this year's ANZAC ceremony. Yesterday, on the 25th of April, thousands of members of both the Australian and New Zealand Defence Forces, together with members of the public, gathered around the world for the traditional dawn parades and ANZAC Day ceremonies. They were there to honour fallen comrades, fathers, grandfathers, husbands, children and friends who came from the far reaches of the globe. We are likewise gathered here today in the tranquility of Stonefall Cemetery to not only honour 120 aviators from New Zealand and Australia who are buried around us, but to pay homage to all ANZAC defence personnel who are interred in so many countries around the world. Stonefall Cemetery is the final resting place of 1,013 individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of comradeship and peace. 954 of those men were aviators, whose average age when they died was around 23 years old. These young men, who travelled the seas to England and fought under the banner of the Royal Air Force, dreamed each time they took to the skies that one day, when it was all over, they would return to their family and the ones they loved. When they left those far shores, mothers kissed their boys farewell, knowing deep down that they would most probably never see them again. It would have been heartbreaking, but everybody on both sides of the world lived with hope. Today we are all here to give thanks to those aviators whose young lives, once assigned to a fighting squadron, would have been on average 6 weeks. As we remember and honour them today, we dedicate this ANZAC Remembrance ceremony to building a world where one day there may be peace for all, in every corner of our world. This ceremony is about respect, it's about remembrance, and it's about the duty of honour. But most of all, it is about love. Please now stand as we dedicate this patriotic hymn to ANZACs who were buried in Stonefall and in all corners of the world. I vow to thee, my country.
Vow to thee, my country, all earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of my love, the love that asks no questions, the love that stands the test, that lays upon the altar the dearest and the best, the love that never falters, the love that pays the price, the love that makes undaunted the final sacrifice. But there's another country I've heard of long ago. Oh, still to them that love her, most great to them that know. We may not count her armies, we may not see her king, her fortress is a faithful heart, her pride is suffering. Soul by soul and silently, her shining guns increase. Her ways are ways of gentleness, of peace.
Please be seated. Representing the Australian High Commission to the United Kingdom and the Australian Defence Force, I now welcome for his address Squadron Leader Ataman Iskender of the Royal Australian Air Force.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honour and a privilege to be standing with you today to commemorate the 111th anniversary of ANZAC Day. Today, we pause to remember. We remember those who landed on the beaches of Gallipoli on the 25th of April 1915. We remember all who served after them in conflict, in crisis, in peacekeeping, at home and in faraway lands. And we remember those who never came home. ANZAC Day is not simply about one landing, one campaign, one generation. It is about service. It is about sacrifice. It is about duty carried out in difficult places, under hard conditions, often by ordinary people asked to do extraordinary things. For Australians, ANZAC Day carries deep meaning. It speaks to courage, endurance, mateship and selflessness. It also reminds us of the true cost of service. Behind every uniform is a family. Behind every name etched in stone is a life interrupted, a future denied, and loved ones who carried that loss long after the guns fell silent. Today we honour not only those who died, but those who returned from war changed, who carried wounds seen and unseen. We honour the families who served beside them in their own way, through separation uncertainty, but with resilience and love. To stand in the United Kingdom to commemorate ANZAC Day is to be reminded that our histories are closely bound together. Australians, New Zealanders, and Britons have served alongside one another for generations. We have stood together in hardship and in defence of values larger than ourselves. Here, alongside our colleagues at rest, we serve in a profession that demands vigilance, discipline, and trust. We know that security is rarely accidental. It is built by people who are prepared, committed, and ready, often without fanfare and usually without recognition beyond their own team. For me, that is one of the most enduring lessons of ANZAC Day. Service is not only measured in dramatic moments. Often it is found in the steady fulfilment of duty, in the watch kept through the night, in the standard upheld when nobody is watching, in the teammate supported, in the responsibility accepted without complaint. The men and women we remember today came from different backgrounds, different towns, and different walks of life. What united them was not perfection, but purpose. They answered when called. They placed the mission and their mates ahead of themselves. They did what they believed was necessary. That example still speaks to us. It reminds us to serve with humility, to lead with integrity, to look after one another, and to remember that the finest tribute we can pay to those who came before us is not words alone, but how we carry ourselves now. ANZAC Day should never cause us to celebrate war. Rather, it should deepen our respect for peace and sharpen our understanding of what it takes to preserve it. We honour the fallen best by being worthy of their legacy, professional in our duties, steadfast in our values, and committed to the security of those we serve. So today, from here in the United Kingdom, far from Australia, but among allies and friends, we remember with gratitude and resolve. We remember those who served. We remember those who fell. We remember those who carried the burden home. And we remember the families who stood behind them. May we prove worthy of their example, lest we forget.
Professional soprano Joanne Dexter, a Yorkshire lass born in my hometown of Otley, will lead us in this most traditional of Australian songs, Waltzing Matilda. Please stand.
Once a jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolibah tree, and he sang as he watched and waited till his billy boiled. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Down came a jambuck to drink at that billabong. Up jumped the swagging and grabbed him with glee, and he sang as he stowed that jambuck in his tucker bag. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he stowed that jambuck in his tucker bag. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. Down came the squatter, mounted on his thoroughbred. Up came the troopers, 1, 2, 3. Who's that jolly jambuck you've got in your tucker bag? You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. Up come the swagging and jumped into the billabong. You'll never catch me alive, said he, and his ghost may be heard if you pass by that billabong. Who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me? Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he stowed that jambuck in his tucker bag. You'll come a waltzing
Please be seated. May I now welcome, on behalf of the New Zealand Defence Force, Captain Morgan Findlay of the New Zealand Army to offer her address.
Tēnā koutou katoa e hui hui nei ki te whakamaumahara I te rā o ANZAC. Kia ora tātou katoa. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the families of those who have loved ones buried here at Harrogate, families who have lost someone or been affected by war, and to the serving military personnel, veterans and their families. You have all sacrificed something for us to have the opportunity to stand here today, remembering those who came before us. I'd also like to acknowledge the United Kingdom for acting as a guardian for the New Zealand personnel who lay here buried at Stonefall Cemetery. At dawn 110 years ago, thousands of people in our home countries and across Europe stood together to remember the lives that had been lost during the Gallipoli campaign for the very first time. This included the UK, where an estimated 2,000 Australians and New Zealanders, many of those who were soldiers recovering from combat injuries sustained in fighting, marched the streets of London in remembrance of those who we had lost. Just 1 year before, on the 25th of April 1915, the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps landed in Gallipoli with the intention to conduct a surprise attack and rapid advance to the Surrey Bear Range. Instead, the ANZACs were met by a reinforced Turkish defensive position sitting above what we now call ANZAC Cove. By this time in 1915, over 2,000 men had been killed, and the remaining were transitioning into trench warfare in what would be a hellish 8 months. By the end of the campaign, Australia and New Zealand had lost tens of thousands of soldiers, and it had created a lasting impact on both countries' communities and identities. Now, a century later, we choose this day to commemorate those who have fought and died in all wars. While Gallipoli was the first time Australia and New Zealand had fought alongside each other, it created an enduring relationship between the two countries, which has now been tested in many other conflicts. The ANZAC partnership has now seen deployments across the world, including World War II and places like Iraq, Afghanistan, Solomon Islands and Timor-Leste. Today is an example of this as we come together on the other side of the world to remember the World War II aviators from New Zealand and Australia who lost their lives fighting alongside our partners like the UK. There are 23 Royal New Zealand Air Force officers and aviators who are laid to rest here at Stonefall Cemetery. These men came from all across New Zealand, many places that I call home, to serve our country. All were ordinary men who showed extraordinary acts of bravery to fight in Europe alongside our allies, and in doing so lost their lives. Their sacrifices act as a reminder to us of the cost of our freedom, as well as the consequences of war. Today is not a day to glorify war, but rather pay tribute to the courage and commitment of those who have served and were prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. ANZAC Day serves as a reminder that we have a collective responsibility to prevent conflict and uphold freedom and respect for human dignity. In the words of New Zealand's Governor-General, ANZAC Day calls on us not only to remember, but to renew our resolve to build a more peaceful world. As we honour the service and sacrifice of our veterans, and of all those who continue to serve today, may we carry forward the values they embodied: courage, integrity, and a commitment to the well-being of others. This ANZAC Day, I encourage everyone to reflect on how we can individually and collectively uphold these attributes to strive for a just and peaceful world. Ka maumahara tōna tātou ki a rātou. We will remember them. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you.
Pokari Kariana is a song of love that was composed and written in Maori around 1914. The song was popularised by Maori soldiers before heading off to war in Europe and leaving their loved ones behind. This verse of undying love reads, "O girl, return to me. I could die of love for you. My love will never be dried by the sun. It will be forever moistened by my tears."
carry, carry on. Now, why, poo. Fitiatu koehine. Marino ane. Ehine. Hoki Myra. Kamatia. Itearohae. Tui takurita. Tukuato takurigi. Kia kiti towiwi. Raru raru anae. Ehine. Hoki Myra. Kamatia. Itearohae. Ehine. Hoki Myra. Kamatia. Itearohae.
I would now like to invite Air Officer North, Air Commodore Adam Sansom, who will offer his address on behalf of the Royal Air Force.
Deputy Lord Lieutenant, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We gather once again in this place of quiet reflection, where the cost of war is not marked by words, but by stone. Here in Stonefall Cemetery, among more than 1,000 British and Commonwealth war graves, we stand in the presence of 97 Australians and 23 New Zealanders, airmen who came from the far side of the world and who now rest in Yorkshire soil. They travelled vast distances across oceans and continents to serve in a conflict that was not confined by geography, rather defined and broadened by shared values. Many had never left their homelands before, yet they came willingly, drawn by a sense of duty and a belief that freedom, when threatened with extinction, must be defended, whatever the costs and the risks. In the air war, their contribution was profound. They flew in darkness and in danger, navigating hostile skies with skill and determination, and their service was marked with courage and resilience. For many, the margin between survival and loss was measured in moments, and too often fate was unforgiving. And so we remember not only what they did, but what they gave up. Behind every name here lies a life interrupted, a future unrealized. Families in Australia and New Zealand felt the loss across the years and across the miles. The distance did not lessen the grief, it only deepened the sense of absence. Yet in this place, that distance is overcome. Here they lie amongst comrades, united in purpose and sacrifice. The bonds forged in war did not end with it. They endure in memory, in gratitude, and in the enduring friendship between our nations. As time passes, the responsibility falls ever more to us. We no longer can hear their voices, but we see the legacy that they left behind. in the freedoms we enjoy, in the alliances we uphold, and in the values we continue to defend. So today, let us stand not only in remembrance, but in recognition. Recognition of courage freely given, of service without hesitation, of sacrifice that demands nothing except our remembrance and our commitment to live up to the ideals for which they gave everything. We honour them, we remember them, and we remain forever grateful. Per ardua ad astra.
There have been many poems written over the years that focus on the assault on Gallipoli in 1915 by ANZAC troops. Our reader today is Alderman Michael Newby, Chair of Harrogate International Partnerships, who will read this poem written by an anonymous New Zealander as he recalls his memory of that time in history when young men went to war. It is simply called A Poem for ANZAC.
They came from field and factory, from desk and fishing fleet, from shearing shed and foundry, from hill and plain and street. Little they knew of warfare, their lesson was all to learn. These men of the golden wattle, these lads of the silver fern. The hush of a chill spring morning, the race to the ragged beach, the hail of the searing shrapnel and the big shell's angry screech, up and up to the ridges through the bullet-belching brush, to the hell of a fire-girt dawning and the flame-edged Turkish rush. The soft Levantine breezes steal over the storied spot, the flanks of Achibaba, the red-stained daisy plot, the gullies east of ANZAC, the slopes of Saribert are silent now, yet ever we honour those who are there. Their names shall live forever in the halls of memory. They gave their lives as ransom that we who live be free. They bought us peace and ransom and freedom, nor grudged the utmost price. God grant that we prove worthy of their great sacrifice.